welcome back to another episode of Demand Drivers, where we talk all things demand to help you drive your business.
Love it. Great intro. I love it.
Okay, before we kick off though, I'm in the hot seat, but we're going to actually do a what's your first car? What was your first car? Over to you, Chris.
Okay, Toyota Corolla, 2004, I think it was, 2004. And I bought my first car new. And I remember where I was working in hospitality at the time, they were like, wow, we must pay you too much. You're a student and you've got a car. But you know what?
So you bought a dad's car to kick off.
And the funny thing was, right, it was a great car to start up. And then my friend rolled it. So about like 2 years later, accident, but it was...
I bet you didn't do any donuts in the Toyota.
No, I didn't. I'm not that guy. No, actually, she just lost control, and we rolled. Like, there was three of us in the car, and there was nothing untoward. It rolled, and
yeah. Toyota Corolla, dad's car, and then his favourite car is a Ferrari. Radio.
Yeah, right. What did it? Mike, you're up.
Mine's a bit of a strange story, actually, because the very first car I had was actually a Valiant Charger.
Ooh,
no,
was that
really? Yeah.
V6 or V?
It was
a V6?
No, straight 265 Hemi. The sound on that thing. But admittedly, it was a paddock basher. Believe it or not, which a lot of people would cringe at that these days and go, "What a tragedy!" Yeah, that's it. But actually, my first car
fuel?
Is
that one of those ones where you used to wind down the windows and the fumes used to come back in?
What?
I could see that probably happening. I don't know. I was always sideways in the thing anyway, so I didn't.
Brilliant. Okay, sorry, was there more?
Oh, the actual first car that I had on the road was a Toyota Corolla.
Oh, there you go.
84 Corolla.
Okay.
A bit older than yours.
I'm actually feeling okay now. Because it wasn't a Toyota Corolla. First car I had on the road was probably about a 1986 or 84 Ford Laser.
Oh, well, you could complain about Corolla.
That was the boxy front.
The boxy front. Manual. But when I actually went to go and buy it, it was classic old used car salesman, and they'd put a massive muffler on the back. And so when you started, it was like... and then when I came back to collect it, guess what they'd done? Because it was a chrome muffler and everything. Remove the muffler. Yeah. So after I'd paid them the cash, they'd removed the muffler. Yeah,
dodgy.
Classic dodgy used car salesman. But that car lasted, that was ages and ages and ages. I think I even had... it was like about 15 years. It just kept going and going and going.
There's certain models of car and Toyota, but the Ford Laser
was one of those clearly.
The old Honda Civic too. But
and speaking of selling and
dodgy selling, no. Today's podcast, we're talking about how to write your perfect elevator pitch. We have a message marketer here to my right.
Yep.
So I'm going to start over here to my left.
That was unexpected. Go for it.
I loved it.
Because So tell us your thoughts on elevator pitches, Mike. And because you've always had it takes balls to be odd.
Yeah. Well, we've got a nice little slogan there. Yeah.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, they're not the most complicated things. Elevator pitch, you got to communicate something within basically 30 seconds, right? The elevator ride. Yep. So you've got to really think clearly around what you want to communicate, and from my point of view of what you've got to communicate, it really just comes down to hitting people with the problem that people can recognize, the pains or problems that they might be having. Ideally, if you think about who you're talking to, you want to consider who they are in terms of when you're talking to them about that. But at the same time, they may or may not be your target market, but they may know someone who is. So the idea in terms of, first off, is working out what the pain and problem you want to hone in on so that people can recognize it. Then you look at what you do in terms of your solution. And ideally, you're framing it in a way that's a bit more unique, or a bit your core strength of how you achieve that differently, better than others provide it. And so at the same time, in that, you tend to try and put a bit of a hook in there that kind of gets them thinking, subtle, that's interesting.
Not too in your face.
Well, and this is where I'm sure the message marketer will be able to kind of go take us to that next level. Is really about something that gets them thinking at the very end of it. Once you finish, like if you've done a really great 30-second elevator pitch, at the end of that they say, Well, that's interesting.
Yes, and I think that. So I'll
then
come
you
in
get
now
that
before.
engagement.
Before
No, I
because
agree.
we'll go in about 1,000.
I know, that's why I'm worried. I'm worried my head's going to explode.
I know. So,
We're trying to steal
I'll add.
his
Yeah,
thunder
we're
at the
stealing
moment,
his
right?
thunder at the
Fall
moment.
off.
So I'm going to add 2 layers to what you said. I think I'd buy into everything that you said.
Yeah, he's right. 100%.
One of the things that 3 questions. One is, do you do a question in your elevator pitch? Or is it just we do this? So that's always one to think about. The other one is, to me, a good elevator pitch actually prompts a question at the end of it. So
that's nice.
So if you've been successful in your elevator pitch, the next thing that somebody says is, "Can you tell me more?" Or can you tell me more about that? Can I understand that a little bit more? That means that you've got
permission.
Yeah. And the bit that
really
I think people forget is that they work so hard on the elevator pitch, they forget to practice the next bit.
Yeah, the call to action, what's happening next.
Yeah, because I've just done the elevator pitch, I've gotten you interested, and you've said, "Oh, tell me about that," and then you go, "Blah." So I think it's actually the next layer, which is, okay, what's the follow-up? If somebody says, the perfect Oddball Marketing elevator pitch comes across, and then I say, "Oh, that's fantastic, mate. Tell me more about that." If you then don't wow me, that's connected to what you said with your elevator pitch, then I just walk away going, oh well. So you've got to.
He did that to me when we were in the elevator the other day, right?
Did he wow you?
No, he just walked off.
Oh, he walked off.
You got to. You got to be able to back up what your elevator pitch is and have a few layers to it. That's what I would say, and practice them. So, okay, now to the message marketer.
The head's going to explode. Okay, look, I write these a lot. Look, there's so many different layers, as you said, we can attack this as well. Look, I always say, practice, right? So people get intimidated by this, but it's actually one of the most important tools you can have. And the reason why is because in a world of digital, networking is so incredibly powerful for businesses of all sizes. And if you cannot sell yourself on that dime, you miss out on so many opportunities, and it's so critical. Now, a lot of people then will go, "Oh my gosh, how do I even try this? How do I attack this?" I always say to people, write down ideas. Just write, vent, get it out, right? And then refine it, practice it. And it's not that you have to be so like word by word inorganic, but the intimidation goes away when you get that whole like, I know what I like to say. Especially, it doesn't have to be word by word, but you gravitate to certain points, beats that I find. The elements that you want to include, of course, are start with a big relevant opening, right? The biggest problem that elevator pitches where they go wrong.
What might be a relevant opening? So hit me with a Melotti Media one.
So it would be something like, are you struggling to
So you like questions?
I love questions, but you don't have to. But I always say, are you proud of what your brand is saying to the people who matter? Right, I always start with that one because that gets people to think, because I don't say I'm a copywriter, I'm a message marketer, because people go, I don't care. Or they go, I don't know what that is, so I'm disengaging. Whereas if you say, bring it to their world and say, this is something that you do, that you care about, that is when people start to connect. So I say, are you proud of what your brand is saying? So that people go, oh, I'm not. And if I say, if you don't say yes, why not? Right, and I'm not saying you have to always use questions, but that's what people then I bring them into my world. Then I say, when's the last time you revised your branding? Have you ever thought about how your brand connects with people? Does it sound like everybody else? Now, I know I'm bombarding people with questions. You don't have to, but it starts with that sort of connection. It might be, and it's those kind of things is what lets people into your world.
So each one of those, none of those of you've described your service in there. So you've left that out intentionally.
I get that. And the reason, and everyone is like, I don't want to say this is the only way to do it, but I find that if you're trying to pitch to someone and you've got that 30-second window, you can't start by saying, "Hi, I'm Chris from Melotti Media." They're gone. Their mind is going, "Great, I need milk on the way home," right? But if you say, is your website getting you the results that you deserve? Suddenly people go, I haven't even thought about my website. That enough is to spur them to go, what? Then you say, that's what we kind of do. Like that's what we specialize in. And then you bring them in, but you need to get that permission, and you get that permission by showing relevance. And so it's so important. And that's what I'm saying is to everyone listening and watching is that you've got to bring them into your world by showing them that so see how, like Kristin, you observed, I'm not talking about my agency or anything like that to start with, because people will go, oh, it's a sale. right? Whereas if you get that permission by saying, something like that, I see you're not alone. People get frustrated by marketing all the time. People go, connect, right? And they go, I get like the previous episode we did on fragmentation. Does marketing overwhelm you? I get it. Marketing is overwhelming. However, that's something that we solve at Oddball. At Oddball Marketing, we're able to bring the pieces together so that then you don't have to. Right? Just see how then
I'm sold. How much?
Right? And so that's what it comes down to. And for Font and Swatch, it would be something like, branding is what makes you not have to compete on price. But the problem with branding is that it's not consistent, and people don't know where to take branding, and so therefore you naturally bias it and you become generic, and that then works against you. Whereas at Font and Swatch, we work with you to bring out what makes you amazing, and then suddenly people go, that sounds relevant in my life, and that's worth investing in. And so, my key takeaway, sorry, I'm venting, but the key takeaway is practice your elevator pitch. Like we said, talk to your audience, make sure that you're hitting all those beats, but talk about them first.
I think the key thing there is that what you've highlighted is you're not selling.
Yeah,
You're solving.
Solving. Yes. Good. That's a great way to say it. You're not selling, you're solving.
I think that's really good. Yeah.
Beautiful. Because it is,
and you're not just talking about you. I think you did it really well. Situationally, you're putting yourself in the customers or in the audience's arena, and you're asking them whether they've got a problem, and drawing them in.
Yeah, and if you think of any other context, forget marketing. Think about any other context. If you go to an IT provider, and the minute they go, "Oh, you need a mainframe," people disconnect. Yeah. Whereas if you go, "Is storage a problem?" It's something that businesses underestimate. Or when's the last time cybersecurity was a threat? It's not if, it's when. People go, what? And I've done, sorry, I'm just giving you an example. I did this recently for a safety consultant and he does safety on sites. And he was like, oh, we do safety. And I said, listen, put something like, can you afford a $1.8 million fine? Right, start with that, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "That's how much the government will fine you if you breach these things that I solve." And he was like, "That's on his website." Right, so that's what starts with. Sorry, I'll stop.
That's good.
So, shall I go around the houses? Have you got anything else to add?
No, I think what Chris sort of basically alluded to there was exactly how I'd be looking at too. Pain, and so that they can identify with that and go, yeah, I can see that, and then what's the solution to it? You do that, and you've got people who are like, oh wow, that's quite interesting as such. And again, you're not selling, so that takes down that there's the
barrier, the protection.
Exactly. And now we can have a great conversation about stuff.
Chris, anything else to add?
No, I think as Mike said, we just need to just make sure that you're connecting. Right. I know it all sounds easy in theory, but if people are busy, like we all are, we're naturally resistant. If you don't talk about them, people will go, you're pitching to me, you're selling to me, I'm afraid.
I'm too busy. Yeah. And look, I would just add, give it a go.
Yeah.
Get out there. And you will know,
and have it there.
Give it a go, because you'll know whether it's working or not, because you'll get the engagement. So, and if it's not working, then don't just put it in the bin and
I don't do elevator pitches.
Actually, just go back and refine it. Think about what didn't work, and try again. Okay, that's it for Demand Drivers for this episode. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.